I want to tell you about a moment in one of my workshops that completely changed the way that I respond when a participant says something I feel the urge to challenge. It's one of the few times that I actually saw someone changing their mind in real time. And I remember thinking, oh, this is actually how people rethink their beliefs. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about the story of that interaction, what I learned through it, and the exact phrase that I think if it is used at the right moment can have like world-shifting effects, you guys. It's so good. Just keep listening. But first, hi, my name is Maureen, and I help facilitators hold space for controversial or difficult topics with more confidence and impact. So here is what happened. I was facilitating an equity and inclusion workshop for the marketing division of a really big tech company. So picture a group of 16 adults in the workplace in a very professional setting. We were exploring the differences between equality and equity, and I gave them an example of what this might look like in a company's recruitment process. At this point, one of the participants, let's call her Betty, raises her hand. And she says something like, what if all this focus on equity means that we end up promoting people in positions that they're really not qualified for? Like, wouldn't that objectively lower the bar and degrade our services and just be bad for everybody, including the people who we promoted there for more inclusion? Now, if you've ever facilitated, you know this moment. And I swear to you, I was this close to asking something like, when we say that hiring more marginalized people would lower the bar, what are we assuming about them? Or, I don't know, can you give me an example of a time where that's happened and we can go from there? But instead, and I'm so grateful that I did this, I had the good sense to pause and to be like, that's an interesting perspective. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to respond? So there's a brief lull, and finally someone raises their hand and says to Betty, look, I hear what you're saying, but I wonder if we're asking the wrong question here. What if instead we asked, what are we missing out on by not having those people in the room? And right there, I could see the shift happening for Betty, and not just for Betty, but for a lot of other people who might have had that same question in their mind. And she just said like, yeah, that's a good question. I guess I never thought about it that way. I mean, when do you ever hear stuff like that? I'll tell you when that never happens. It's when you explain to people why their point of view is wrong. And I felt something shifting in the room. I felt space open up. Suddenly we were having a real conversation about what happens when teams in leadership are too homogenous. I facilitate a lot of these workshops, and I tell you that seeing belief change happening in real time is rare. And those moments, they're like these little gems that I study and try to integrate into what I do and what I talk about here. So when someone says something that we disagree with, our first instinct is usually to correct them. Okay, I don't know if it's just human nature or if it's socialization, whatever, we all do it. We just assume that people need to understand why their belief is wrong in order to change their mind. But that's not actually how it happens, and that's not even how you change your mind. We're just notoriously really bad at even remembering when and how we changed our minds. So often, belief change comes not from correction, but from reframing. So instead of trying to explain to someone why their view is incorrect, the real stakes are in trying to get them to consider another perspective, even just for a brief moment. So I think about it this way, but it's the difference between barging into someone's living room and starting to rearrange all the furniture because you don't like how it's set up, and like opening a window and hoping that the fresh air and the light that window lets in allows them to see the room differently if they choose to. And this is what this participant had done for Betty. She had opened a window. Okay, here I was, ready to storm into Betty's living room. That wouldn't have worked, and she would have probably just tried to kick me out of her house, either during the workshop or right after it. So my word of wisdom that I wanted to share with fellow facilitators is that next time someone says something you want to challenge in like a workshop or a classroom or a meeting, try opening a window. And the incredible phrase to open that window is, I wonder if we're asking the wrong question. What if we ask blank instead? Instantly, that reframes the conversation, and that allows you to have another conversation that you find more productive in a way that doesn't directly challenge people and usually makes them much more open to considering new ideas. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned in 15 years of facilitation. Like, if I could go back in time and tell myself one thing, it wouldn't be to try and be perfect or have these like incredibly articulate, snappy ways to respond to people, but it would be to try and hone the skill to view an issue from different perspectives and to view that as the added value I can bring to the group as a facilitator. In a lot of my videos on this channel, this is what I talk about. How do we reframe conversations so that they're actually productive, so that we're actually exploring a problem altogether instead of just trying to face off and prove to each other who's right. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it, both theoretically, but also physically liked it. Well, not physically, but you know what I mean, liked it on YouTube. I'd love to read your comments. Do you find this helpful? Do you have other ideas that you'd like to share with us about what can be effective in these situations? And with all that said, I'll see you very soon.